इसी वीडियो में 5 मिनट के पूरे क्वेश्चन का आंसर दिया हूँ एमसीक्यू, तो मल्टीपल चॉइस क्वेश्चन रहता है। आप इसको पढ़ के अच्छे खासे एमसीक्यू को सॉल्व आउट कर सकते हो, क्योंकि अभी पेपर में एमसीक्यू भी पूछा जाता है, एमसीक्यू का आंसर भी देना होता है। ठीक है, तो 10 15 20 मार्क्स के लिए हमको एमसीक्यू आता है, जिससे हमको प्रॉपर तरीके से याद करके और प्रॉपर तरीके से समझ कर हमको टिक चॉइस करना होता है। तो मैंने पूरे इस वीडियो में सिलेक्ट करके बताया हूँ कि इसके आंसर के साथ साथ, तो आप वीडियो देख सकते हो। ठीक है, तो आर्टिफिशियल इंटेलिजेंस प्राइमरी एम्स टू क्या इसका एमसीक्यू है, सैमुलेट ह्यूमन इंटेलिजेंस इन मशीन। मशीन लर्निंग सबसेट ऑफ कौन सा है, आर्टिफिशियल इंटेलिजेंस बी वाला। डीप लर्निंग डिफरेंस फ्रॉम ट्रेडिशनल मशीन लर्निंग बिकॉज इट ऑटोमेटिकली एक्सट्रैक्ट फीचर्स। The perceptual model was introduced by Frank Rosberland. One major motivation for deep architecture इसका क्या है, availability of large data set and GPU, and artificial neuron consist of इसमें wide bias and acquisition function, or the net input to neuron is calculated as a weight or sum of input and plus bias. The output range of this reward function, activate function is a 1. The 10 activation function output value in the range 1. The LED activation function defined as a max 0x. The dying RLU problem occur the neuron always output 0. Like RLU introduced to solve a dying RLU problems. In a feed-forward neural network, an information flow from input to output layer only. A network with one input layer, one hidden layer, and one output layer is called a solver network. The purpose of loss function is to measure prediction error, which loss function is commonly used for a binary classification cross entropy loss. Mean squared error MC general used for regressions. A gradient descent is used to minimize loss function. The learning rate is a gradient descent control. Size of a weight to update. Back propagation is used to compute gradient of loss rate of weight. Back propagation in which mathematically consider explicitly chain rule of differentiations. Vanishing gradient are mostly like to occur with a sigma equation. L1 regularization at which terms to the loss function some absolute weight. तो शान बैठना वो L2 regulation as known as right step. Dropout regulation work when a randomly detecting events during training. Forfeiting occur when a model perform well in trainings but data but poorly on unseen data. Or an increase of model complexity without regulation may be lead to overfittings. In deep learning, optimizing objective for to minimize maximum in specific functions. Yeah. In deep learning. So, third unit में the vast dominant neuron help to shift activation function deep neural model they require a large data set high performance power. अभी हमने फर्स्ट यूनिट कंप्लीट कर चुके हैं, सेकेंड यूनिट पे जाने वाले हैं और सेकेंड यूनिट के क्वेश्चन पढ़ने वाले हैं। आई होप आपको फर्स्ट यूनिट अच्छे समझ में आया होगा, तो वेरिएशन ग्रेडियंट उसका आंसर आपको अच्छे से देखने को मिला होगा। फर्स्ट ग्रेडियंट ऑफ ना gradient approach 0 during a back propagation. Exploding a gradient lead to very small weight of update, extremely large weight of update. Managing gradient problem is commonly associated with deep neural networks. Overfitting occur when a model perform equally when all training and test data perform well on training but poorly on some data. Or one common method to reduce overfitting are regularized techniques. Batch normalize is primarily used to normalize the layer input. Batch normalize helps to an internal cohort with the shift reductions. Zero weight initialization is problematic because it causes asymmetry among neurons. Xaver initialization designed to maintain a variance across layer. यानी का RLU activation. The learning rate determines speed of weight update. A very high learning rate may cause oscillation of divergence. Batch size refers to number of sample processed before updating weight. Increase the number of Squatchy generals or passes over the data set. Stoic gradient descent density update weight using one sample at time. Momentum often improve HDD by adding previous gradient influence and RMS proper adapt learning rate during the average of spare gradient. Adams optimizer combine concept for momentum and RMS prop. Adam optimization maintain का क्या है, both first and second momentum estimate. Accuracy define का क्या है, TP plus TN total uh, upon total sample. Precious measure का क्या है, correct positive among actual positive, among predicted positive. ठीक है, और इसका सॉरी और recall measure का correct positive among actual positive. F1 cross is the harmonic means operation called. Confirm matrix of binary classification dimension 2 into 2. True positive TP represent correct positive predictions. In a imbalanced data set which may be misleading, which optimizer ready converger fasting practice and gradient clipping is used to handle exploding gradient. Early chopping technique to prevent overfitting. Hyperparameter tuning aim to find optimal model configurations. This is the second unit. And third unit's concept and that China CN calculation operation primarily used to extract of special features. A convergence filter kernel is typically smaller than the image. If padding is not applied during covering the output feature website and degrade, the purpose of padding is to preserve a spatial dimension. Striding convolution determine step size of a printer momentum. Increase stride while generally reduce output size. Output size. Max loading operation select the maximum value in a regression. Pulling layer help in reducing spatial dimensions. Parameter sharing and CNS help to reduce number of trainable parameters. HelNet architecture was primarily designed for handwritten gate digital recognition. Alex Nader introduced which activation function widely seen as RLM. VGG architecture is characterized by taking small entry into tree conversion filter. This net address the degradation problem is key for residential connection. Batch or residual learning alone networks learn and identify mapping easily. Deep CN architecture become practical mainly due to the increase of computational power GPU. In CN convolution operation mainly used for extracting of features from images, which parameter to control how the filter move across the image is understood. This CN architecture introduces skip connection RSNet. Transfer learning is used to use a pre-trained model for new tasks. The inception network primarily used to capture a multi-scale feature use parallel filter, which concept is introduced in an inception model to reduce compute cost one-into-one correlations. In a transfer learning teaching earlier, they help to retain learn low level features. And in deep learning, refer to addition weight corporate trained model on new data, which they usually retain first in transfer learning output fully or connected layer. In image classification using CN panel, they are tapping new SIM model software softwares and activations. Object detection difference from image classification because they detect and localize multiple objects, which are techniques commonly used to detect model, building blocks regressions. Unit 4. ठीक है यहाँ फेस रिकॉग्निशन सिस्टम primarily are feature extraction and similarity matchings, which advantage of transfer learning providing when data is limited, reduce training time, improve performance. Inception architecture use parallel path mainly to process different data size simultaneously. Share a weighted across time step and the depending recording neural network. The hidden state of RNA across the memory previous input. Which of the following base standarding sequence model language model Getative records are now a state gate and a JRU different from LSTM dated in half-wave parameter. Back propagation through time repeatedly is used to train RNN, which problem arises due to repeated multiplication of gradient exploding gradients. Gradient clipping is used to limit the large gradient value. ठीक है और हो गया यहाँ पे which of type of sequence model produce output at every time step many to many. In time series forecasting are used and predict the future value based on past values. Which of the following example one to many sequence modeling क्या होगा image captioning. In sentiment analysis using RNN, the output is typically a single level, which architecture is commonly used for text generation RNN based model. The reset get in GRE control for getting previous state which fabrication use sequence to sequence model machine translation, which recognition model convert audio to text, which problem reduced by using LSTM RAG instead of basic RNN and long-term dependency flows. In RNN, the output is 8 times step depend on both input and hidden state. Which of the following improve RNN performs on a large sequence, long sequence using gating machines? In sequence model temporal dependency refer to relationship between elements across time. But इसका कौन question 6. The vanishing gradients problem led to a gradient become very small. The estimate GRU used to solve vanishing gradient problems. Sequential data were able to data with a specific sequence of time dependency. And RNN info flows in those across time step unit. And autoencoder consists of which two main parts encoder and decoder. The bottleneck layer and autoencoder is used to reduce the dimension of data. Which type of autoencoder introduces a redundancy latent space? Adversarial games and adverse variance autoencoder. In a variance and autoencoder latent variable for Gaussian distribution, the loss function where you typically combine requested loss with the KL divergence. Which of the following is generated model GN? ठीक है generative address network, the generative MC generative register fake data. The discriminator GN is responsible for classify real or fake data. Yeah, GN training often describes adversarial games. A model collapse in GN refer to generating limited variety of output, which model architecture introduces self-attention mechanism transformer. In addition, if the muted database and based on the importance of input. VRT is primarily used for a language understanding class. GPT is mainly described text generations. Our transformer process sequence in parallel. Positional encoding transfer used to encode a sequence order. Has been trained for it learning based on trial and error learning. In the for learning, the agent learn by maximizing the reward. The minimum one is for learning provide a reward and state. Which of the following is an application deployed in healthcare medical image analysis. The PyTorch is developed by the Facebook Meta. PyTorch encoder has been mainly used for data compression and recursion construction. GAN construct two network model called a generator and discriminator. ट्रांसफर मॉडल मेनली यूज अटेंशन मैकेनिज्म, ट्रांसफर फ्लो, केयरस एंड पैटर्न आर डीप लर्निंग फ्लो। आई होप वीडियो आपको समझ में आ गया। वीडियो को पसंद आएगा तो चैनल को लाइक और शेयर करके अपने दोस्तों के पास शेयर करिए, और इसे जरूरतमंद के पास जरूर शेयर करिए। जो स्टूडेंट शायद इधर भटकते होंगे आंसर के लिए, आंसर ढूंढ रहे होगे, फाइंड करोगे, तो मैंने एक साथ भी आंसर को फाइंड आउट किया होगा। तो गाइस आई होप आपको वीडियो पसंद है, चैनल को लाइक और सब्सक्राइब करके शेयर करिए दोस्तों। बट थैंक यू सो मच फॉर वॉचिंग द वीडियोस। मिलते हैं हम नेक्स्ट वीडियो में आपका फ्रेंड्स आकर, ठीक है।